Since all data storage uses the binary number system, how does the computer distinguish between integer data, real number data, textual data like alphabetic and special characters, as well as pictures and even video? Find out in this video. Plus, as an added bonus, I'm going to delve into something called pseudocode. My name is Tim Bachaka from the Learn Programming Academy, and this is my Learn to Code series right here on YouTube. So as I outlined, today I'm going to be talking about how the computer distinguishes between integer data, real number data, textual data like alphabetic and special characters, as well as pictures and even video. And after that in this video, we'll discuss something called pseudocode. But first, we've established in previous videos that computers convert and store all data using the binary number system. So just how does the computer distinguish between these various types of data? There are many types of data being stored on worldwide computing devices these days. Well, the last two videos addressed the topics of decimal, binary, and hexadecimal number systems. Remember, the computer, or any of our computing devices, store and manipulate data only in binary and must do translations from decimal or any other data format to and from binary for use inside the computer or storage anywhere. When apps or programs involve the use of data, it is 100% up to the programmer of the app or program to establish the correct translation of binary data into the specific data types: integers, whole numbers including positive and negative ones, real numbers with decimal points including both positive and negative ones, text, including alphabetic letters and numbers that are treated as text, and all the special characters. Images like JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, and videos in all the variety of video formats. If the programmer does not do this correctly in her program, then it will not work correctly and hence contain at least one bug or defect. So it's really that simple. It's up to the programmer of the app or program to establish the correct translation of binary data into the relevant specific data types. Alright, so moving on. So far in this video series, we've covered some of the basics of computer science, and in an earlier video, I walked you through a simple Hello World Java programming example. I'm now going to start integrating more programming examples in the remaining videos in this course so that you'll get some hands-on experience with the basics of computer programming. Now is the time to learn into it. You heard me correctly, learn into it. Now this is a term used in the agile software engineering community. Basically, it means let's try something and see what we learn as we try it. In other words, it's time for some actual hands-on activities. There are lots of programming languages to choose from, and so many introductory computer programming courses utilize an English-like language known as pseudocode. Pseudocode is not a real programming language, and there's no agreed to standardized grammar or syntax for it. So the pseudocode I'll use here may be a bit different from pseudocode examples you may see in other places. Now that's fine, because pseudocode is mainly used to help a programmer think through his or her logic for solving the programming assignment given to them. Once their logic looks correct, the programmer can then translate the pseudocode into a real programming language like Java, Python, C++, C#, etc. Pseudocode is most often used by non-programmers who want to express their logic and decision-making steps for an app, and then give the pseudocode to a programmer for him or her to create the app using a real programming language. This allows non-programmers to participate without having to know a specific programming language grammar or syntax and its nuances. This is a really good thing. I like to surround my pseudocode with the words start and stop, placing each word on a separate line using a simple text editor like Notepad, Emacs or Vim, or even TextEdit if you're on a Mac. Now you could even use a word processing tool like Word or Docs for pseudocode, but I do not recommend their use when writing in a real programming language because these apps insert hidden characters which may interfere with language compilers and interpreters. So start and stop shows the boundaries of my app or program. There's lots of best practices for programming. One of the most important ones, purely for a person to more easily read and follow the logic in the app, is indentation. Indentation is meaningless to the computer, but so very important to programmers who create, read and update the app. So all our pseudocode will be indented, 4 spaces or a tab press as an example, with the start-stop words. There can also be multiple layers or levels of indentation depending on the complexity of pseudocode or a real program. This is like what's done when a detailed outline is created for a document. It is also a best practice to only write one programming statement, line of code, syntax, per line in your text editor again for programmer readability, even though most language compilers and interpreters can handle multiple program statements per line. All programming languages have a set of reserved words that have specific meaning in that language. The same is true for pseudocode, although there is no worldwide agreed-to standard, so the reserved words I will use could be different in other places that use pseudocode. I'm going to start with 6 reserved words: start, stop, integer, input, set, and output. Start, stop are to show the boundaries of the pseudocode. Integer is to declare a data type for data and reserve memory for it. Remember, it's up to the programmer to make correct use of the data type. Integer data type means only whole numbers, both positive and negative, are allowed. Input is used to accept data from a user's keyboard or from a file. Set is used to do some type of calculation or assignment, and output is used to display or print data or save it to a file. Let's revisit the Hello World example using pseudocode. This example is just about as simple as a program can get. It just contains the start and stop words and then the output word to display or print the words Hello World. Now notice indentation. Also notice that Hello World exclamation is surrounded by quote marks. This becomes the 7th reserved word, namely a literal. A literal is any data that is surrounded by quote marks and is treated as text data type. No arithmetic can be done with the text data type. So the program will output the data that is within the quote marks, Hello World, exclamation point included, in this example. The second example includes its specification, what you want the app to do for you. Now this example used all 6 reserved words, as well as another type of a literal, namely an integer literal with a value of 2 without any quotes around it. So it's treated like an integer because it's a whole number rather than text. Integer literal values can be used for arithmetic computations. This example wants the user to input his or her age as a whole number, an integer. The program then is expected to double the user's age and finally output the doubled age value. Now I'm going to talk through this app's execution in generic terms and point out some of the programming aspects that take place. Keep in mind that the app will execute one line of code at a time, moving from top to bottom, start to stop. When the app starts, it expects the user to enter numeric age value like 23. The value 23 is temporarily stored in the computer's memory in an address or location reserved by the app called My Age. So think of My Age as a box or container in which an integer value can be placed in it, only one app value at a time, 23 in this example. The program moves to the next line of code sequentially and does an arithmetic calculation to multiply the value 23 stored in the My Age memory location by 2, then stores the result, 46 in this case, in another memory location or address called double My Age. The app then outputs the value 46, which is stored in the double My Age memory location, then the app terminates. So I want you to note a few things about this app. Firstly, every time this app is executed, the user can input a different age value and have the app double that age value and output it. This makes the app generic in the sense that it'll work for just about any age the user wants to input. This is one of the many great features about programs. I will expand this example later. Secondly, I introduced the concept of a variable in it and created 2 integer data type variables, My Age and double My Age. Third, some programming languages need the programmer to declare memory locations which will hold data values during program execution before the data value is used in the program, and other languages do not need that declaration. Languages that require it are known as strongly typed programming languages like Java and C++. The Perl language does not require this declaration and so is an example of a weakly typed programming language. 4. I used variable names, My Age and double My Age, that represent the data that these values will store in memory rather than some cryptic names like foo and bar. Doing so makes the app much more readable and understandable to programmers. The computer could care less about readable or cryptic names just so long as the names conform to the language standards. Alright, so time for you now to learn into it. The next slide contains a specification for an app that I want you to try to create using pseudocode. The slide that follows it contains one potential solution. So once you see the specification slide, pause the video so that you can try to code it. When you're done with your pseudocode, resume the video to see the final slide containing my pseudocode solution. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so how did you do? Good, I hope. Your variable names will probably be different than mine, but your variable name should be similar to mine: radius, diameter, and circumference. These three names are given as part of an app's required specification, so why not use them in your program? Circumference must be created as a real variable because multiplying any value by a decimal number like 3.14 will result in a decimal pointed result. Radius and diameter can be created as integer variables or real variables. Now I chose real variables which allow for both whole numbers and decimal numbers. For example, the radius could be input as 6 or 4.25 if created as real. If radius is created as real, then diameter must also be created as real, since multiplying a real number will result generally in another decimal pointed real number. It is possible for the multiplication to result in a whole number. For example, multiply 4.25 times 4 results in 17.0 or just 17. Creating radius and diameter makes the app more flexible and able to handle both whole and decimal point or real input values. Now, if you feel that you didn't do very well with this challenge, then I suggest you replay the video and go through it again. Don't give up, but keep at it. Things may appear difficult initially when learning this stuff, but I promise you perseverance will make everything clear in time, so definitely don't give up. Alright, so that's the end of this video. In the next one, we're going to get into a new topic, namely data manipulation. We're going to start with computer architecture and start talking about machine language, program execution, and then programming data manipulation. You don't want to miss this? See you in the next video. Alrighty, this is the part of the video where I'm meant to get all enthusiastic and to ask you, or quite literally beg you, to subscribe to my channel and to like the video, leave a comment and all that stuff. Well, I'm going to leave that decision in your capable hands to decide whether I've earned a like or a subscribe or a comment. I'd be grateful if you do one, both, or all three. My videos will get out there and in front of a bigger audience if I get that level of engagement, but obviously it's your choice. Alright, so remember that this series was meant to be watched in order, so if you haven't watched from the start, then how dare you watch my video series out of order? Click the link over here to get to the first video in the series and watch that if you want to see the entire series in order. Or come over here and click to view the previous video in the series. Again, your choice. Alright, I'm done. Catch you in the next video.